Also, guten Morgen. Ich werde das in Englisch machen, nur von Curiosity. Who doesn't speak German here? Great. Yeah, thanks. you just justified why I'm doing it in English. Sorry, guys. First of all, thank you very much for that I'm here. Thanks a lot for Nadine and Mo for the great organization and the host. I'm really happy to be here and blah, blah, blah. So let me start directly. The first book I've ever read is The Art of Looking Sideways for Alan Fletcher. And one of the quotes there is like, strap a piece of toast buttered side up to the back of a cat, throw the cat out of the window. Will the cat land on its feet or will Murphy's Law apply? It grabs my attention from the very, very beginning and about how we look at things and how we perceive things in general. Then comes the question, what do you do? Who are you? And then I feel exactly like this cat, which feels like, okay, what are we? Is it we sleep 8 hours a day and we work in the office 8 hours a day? What defines what defines how we introduce ourselves? What defines what we do, what we like to do? Is it passion? Is it how much we are paid for, and so on? I was about to start showing some of my work, project I did in agencies. I'm a digital creative director, art director, whatever. Did a lot of digital experiences like these projects I did in the Modern and so on. In the last 2-3 years, I was working in strategy and digital experiences as well as a researcher. In parallel to that, I do a lot of stuff, but then I thought, no, I won't waste your time. We live in a digital world where everyone can check anyone online and so on. I jumped directly to stuff more maybe interesting, maybe just aspects that are not known everywhere. I love street photography. What interests me a lot is this overlapping of people and contexts and some lucky shots you can get which are full of symmetry, like our next speaker and so on. Recently, under the influence of Instagram, I'm interested in triptychs, and I try to tell a story about cities through triptychs. Also, I'm very interested in videography. This is a 3-minute short movie I've done, which borrows the refractory psychological period we go through when we are so much in pain or in love or any emotion. And I was asking myself, if there's a moment where we reach a level where we don't feel anymore. So that's a dialogue between two people discussing about the pubic hair, whether it's the same thing with emotion. Does it reach a point where it doesn't grow anymore, and so on. Also, in parallel to that, I'm an art enthusiast. If I might call myself, I play dead in public spaces sometimes. That's me in different contexts, playing dead. And it was the question of, will photographer be staged when they die, or they die just like anyone else? I don't know. So that's me playing dead. Also, I love sharing with people every learnings, whether it's a scientific or experience or cultural. So here I was in Morocco, in Marrakesh, as a guest lecturer with like 3 European universities and 1 from Marrakesh. That's very interesting about the role of design in different cultures. The last few talks I gave were mainly about responsible user experience design. I was really questioning a lot, does it make sense what we do as UX designers and so on. Yeah. Creative Morning, to keep it short. What is different today is that I'm not used to maybe speak my mind out. We always go to very specific thing, and that's very interesting to be with such a variety of people with different backgrounds and cultures and thinking. So that's what makes it different, and especially today's topic, Surreal, which brings the topic now. And when we think about surrealism or surreal, we think about Dali, we think about art, we think about it that it's bizarre. Even when you look surreal in dictionary, we think directly something outside the norm, bizarre. But what is outside the norm and what is bizarre? I don't know how much Dali's art is more surreal than 33% of Americans that are getting into divorce now. They are citing Facebook as a reason for their divorce. Or people starving to death while binge gaming on their Nintendo or something like that. or this whole new generation dysmorphia about selfie. They go to do plastic surgeries so they look like their digital effect on Snapchat. I really don't know then what is real, what is surreal actually. What happens? Yeah, André Breton, the king or who started the movement of surrealism in 1924, says it perfectly, and really I love this, the fact that he puts reality and surreality on the same level. He dreams of a world or a life where these two states of dream and reality, they meet, and then in the same sentence they say absolute reality is surreality, which exactly brings me to my starting point when I was trying to prepare for this talk, is acatalepsy, which is in philosophy, it is the incapability to comprehend the universe or things, or the that I'm not capable to perceive a thing. And to that, I will share with you a very personal story. Maybe it happened 2 years ago. I was having a WhatsApp call with my mother, who lives in Lebanon, where I was born. And we were both not in the best mood. And she was telling me, hey, why aren't you in a good mood? And I was telling her, yeah, I double salted my omelette, and my omelette really tastes very salty. And you also sound a bit shattered, or not really good. And she said, I couldn't sleep. The gunfires in our area were so loud, I couldn't sleep. I said, Mom, come on, you've lived more than a war. I mean, you can't be like really afraid. And she said, no, I wasn't afraid. I literally couldn't sleep because the gunfires were so loud. This moment of stillness, I was like, what the fuck? Just like comparing these two realities, context, stories, made me really think about my take into surreality and surrealism. Is really this multitude of realities that every day we are confronted, or between a multitude of realities that keeps us sometimes fascinated, but sometimes also frustrated. These realities can overlap. If we look at the world record egg, who knows about this egg? Yeah, 30%, that's good. This egg now is the world record egg with, a few days ago, more than 50 million likes. So we live in what Professor Zian Nagai would call the web is a sublime, like a mix of the web being stupid and sublime. I love this quote, and that we live in such overlapping realities. Or when we think about a chair, it's the most basic thing when we think about a product design, or we take it for granted, we come and sit. But in other cultures, we just put this reality in a different context. In Lebanon, if you put just this chair in front of the sidewalk, you claim this as your parking for your car. And that's almost legal, like you don't dare to park your car where there's a chair. So this makes me really rethink about realities and context. Also, contradicted realities also. I mean, the mother of cows in the Hindu mythology. This is something very sacred. You would never eat it. You would even respect it and praise it, while many of us probably tomorrow at lunch will have a piece of meat as a main dish. Or the social credit system in China, to be launched next year, having punishment and rating system and tracking every single thing that people do or go or talk or maybe breathe. Realities can be paralleled as well. When there's a reality and then a second or third or fourth comes into. If we think about open relationships, cheating, falling in love while being already in love, falling in love with two people at the same time. These parallel reality also, sometimes people wonder. Or Charles Bonnet syndrome. This is when blind people have a spot in their brain, and the brain starts building up images from what they saw before getting blind, and they create realities which doesn't exist, but it really exists. So these realities are getting paralleled. Interestingly enough, also complemented realities. This is when you are still in reality, but you jump into a second reality. Just thinking about drugs or shrooms, or like you take them and you take them and you go through another level and very intense emotional experience and so on. Or if we think about how much we change our languages, not necessarily between multiple languages, but also between emoji, how much we write. Even there are cultures that they use the Latin to speak in different language. Like in Lebanon also, they would use the English to write Arabic, and they use the numbers for the letters that doesn't exist, like 2, 7, and 8 are letters. And these multiple realities just crossing each other. Expelling realities as well. It's like when a reality like kicks out another reality. Something happened to me once, and luckily not more than once, is sleep paralysis. This is when your body wakes up before your brain. You're like for 30 seconds, you see something, but you cannot move your body. It's called sleep paralysis. This is when really we are literally in two realities, where one we have control on and the other not. So I was really thinking about these different forms of multitude of realities. When they clash, sometimes they get fully influenced together or combined together. And 4 main points cross my mind. I won't go through in details, but just like it's like how much happens in our subconscious, how much our identity is a big part of these realities, and we influence them and they influence our identity. How much context and culture are a big part of that. And 4th, I wonder if how much we can change, and the word change toward that. Then comes this quote from Buddha, which I really love. Well makers lead the water, fletchers bend the arrow, carpenters bend a log of wood, wise people fashion themselves. And I loved how much curating your own life or everything you do makes the best of everything you do. And in parallel with André Breton, who did 2 manifestos and drafted a 3rd one back in 1924 and 29, I thought, why not? How can I bring all this, my frustration and fascination about these multitude of reality, how can I use that in my everyday life / everyday creative life and me as a person? And that's why I wrote the Octopus Manifesto. I wrote the Octopus Manifesto just to write down my thoughts and how can I learn from everything and literally everything that happens. From the egg, I won't call it stupid, the egg, yeah, the egg and other stuff and personal experiences and office life and everything. And I thought, yeah, I would write the Octopus Manifesto, which consists of 8 points or aspects, and I would share that with you. First, more time for coincidence. And before I go through them, I need to tell you, this is very subjective. This is not the new Bible, of course. This is me sharing with you. My thoughts, my perspective. Take it as an example, as a perspective. I would love to hear your thoughts about it even. I even printed a copy of it if one wants to take it. Trying to make it official, but yeah. So first is more time for coincidence. What is meant here is like we should really step into territories where we know no one, almost no one, or where we know so little to nothing. This is really very beneficial. Mistakes to be embraced. And yeah, territory where you are almost a stranger. A methodology also done in 1924 is the exquisite corpse, which is really, we do a lot of ideation now, 90 years after this was done. We do a lot of like the 6-3-5 brain writing or any ideation. We do post-it and so on. This is not at all far from that, or it might be also a derivation from that. This is like a method done in surrealism time where I just, like us now, a group of people, I would write a sentence, give it to the next person read the last word, goes further, or I draw something and you continue doing it. It's a collaborative method to create something creative or to make a message. This is another example of it. Neil Gaiman, the author who wrote Coraline, that was a spelling mistake. He was writing Caroline. He was sure that his story, the main character is Caroline, and then just like every one of us will misspell it, and then it serves his character way more, and it's one of the most awarded or best-selling novels. And that's a great quote here. As beautiful as the chance encounter of a sewing machine and an umbrella on an operating table by Lautréamont. And this is really like, why not letting things happen by coincidence and just see what happens? Second, things are the way they are stated. I mean, curating our own life and our work or profile is one of the best things ever. And who shall tell us how we should do it? I mean, if I say that this is a stack of books and I love it, and the other person would say, no one can prove you false or something like that. So it's very important that how we formulate things is the truth in a way, whatever truth means. Like Magritte back then, so ce n'est pas une pipe. This is not a pipe. Or tobacco, I'm trying not to say the name, tobacco companies that they are selling stories of a smoke-free society. 3, idols are poisonous. I think there's nothing as sad as leading a life that is not your own. Like just discovering after 20 years, what did I do in the last 20 years or the last 1 year, whatever. Like leading a life that is not your own is something really, really sad. We can be fascinated by a lot of people, by a lot of things. We can be a fan of a lot of things, but let's not praise them. I believe we should really praise only ourselves as a praise. Even if you look at the mirror and you say, fuck, I would do me. You can. I mean, or you read something you wrote, or you read something you write and you like it, then why not? Because we are our own identity without a lot of references, if I might say. Wagenfeld, funny enough, in parallel, as André Breton was writing his manifesto, Wagenfeld was designing what we call the best or the icon Tischlampe, or the lamp of the table, also of our time or their time, 90 years ago. And what we can see also a lot of copies or inspired stuff done out of that. And this is very interesting, and but I think we should be better than that, and we are more creative than ever to create something new. Also, if we look at Steve Jobs, the company and the brand is not doing as well, as good today, because they were in a way relied on this god, Steve Jobs, and now they're not doing very well. They're only submitting to the market, following what they're doing. They're doing really good, but generally, this relying on one person wouldn't serve best. Or the second god, Helvetica, do it in Helvetica, it will look good. Like, why not? But I mean, after all these years, maybe we should step away of it. Or Gradient, a few years ago until now, Gradient. Just do it in Gradient, it looks so bad, so good. Or flat design. Or even Instagram, let's design the logo with Gradient and flat design. And that was, I think we're better than that a bit. So the question of idols are really poisonous, I think. 4, it's a play, as there is nothing right and nothing is wrong. I really believe there is no general truth, this is right, this is wrong. Everything is subjective. I mean, as the few examples in the beginning, like culture can really oppose you directly. If you say a cow is delicious, no, it's sacred. There's nothing right, nothing wrong. And a very good example here is maybe something I have experience with, or many of you also, is research and user experience design. We do personas, user journeys, sometimes 6 months of research to define to whom we are designing and where we are designing and so on. Sometimes, you all know some cases where 40% of what we assumed and our assumption with are like with user testing and proved, and look at the documents, the 100-pager document and so on, it doesn't work. I mean, who knows Ping? Great. I'm relieved, but because I never, you know it, thank you. I never heard of it. 2010, not like 1920. 2010, Apple released that as a social network for music. Fail. I would blame also the ugly logo, but Or if we look at who shares on Google Plus today. Andreas, So that's what really a practical proof about nothing right, nothing wrong, if I might say. 5, boredom is a crime. I really believe when you are not on purpose bored, which is very constructive, when you decide to be bored, sometimes it's very creative. But if not on purpose, I really believe we should never allow that, because really boredom is a crime. I share with you here some personal story. The last time I was bored, I decided to stock my friend's shoes. This is stocking his orange shoes. I was just trying to, without he notices, just take a photo of it and like stocking. And obviously, the anthology of these photos, I like them personally. And since there's nothing right, nothing wrong, but I like them. Some people also, that quickly became one of my favorite profiles on Instagram. Keep up the good work. What work? So before the last time, that was 2017, I was also bored and thought like, oh, there's a chance to apply for a dance performance by Jérôme Bell. a very famous choreographer, French choreographer, who does it in museums, these dance performances. It is ridiculous and funny that I was accepted to take part of it. Double ridiculous that I was given also the solo performance to do the solo performance. I was like, okay, I should be more bored maybe. And that was really quite an experience. Seriously? Yeah. So I really think boredom is a crime. 6, reality is a constraint. I really think we should step away from only what reality gives or what is proved or defined. Because I really think just reality is never enough. Even like it's a characteristic of perfectionists that the people, it's proven with studies that reality is never enough for those people. But far away from perfectionism, just about what is given or defined is really shouldn't be the case. Michel Gondry films like The Science of Sleep or Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. The German title is Vergiss mein nicht. Yeah, it's a very good example of that. It's a very good example of that because he really deals with emotions and relationships and love and the work in the office sometimes and so on in a very surreal way with the post-production. It's a very, you would look at this as it's very fictive, but it's pure reality. I would recommend also that you look at the movie. It's really fantastic. Something totally different is like the virtual reality. And I'm not talking about aesthetics here. I'm talking about 2 aspects. Like one is how much virtual reality are serving in the medical field, how much they are, now it is used in surgery, and it's like helping people with disabilities to just reach realities or spaces which doesn't exist anymore. Or the second aspect is education, how much really people with limited access to education, virtual reality is bringing the entire school to their eyes. And this is really very interesting to look at. 7, context is everything. I really believe context is everything, based on the examples I gave earlier, and generally also as designers or in any creative field, to whom we're designing and where we are designing. Context is really literally everything. And if we look at Philip Stark, Lemon Squeezer, some people would discuss this as form on functionality or functionality on form. I don't want to discuss that today, but I want to say that this Lemon Squeezer, he released 10,000th edition in gold, putting huge stickers, please do not squeeze lemon with it. And this I find like, what context is that? Yeah, some people would say, yeah, this is a controversy, it's a conversation. There are rumors that they said, I did that just to create conversation about the product. But it's a lemon squeezer which doesn't allow you to squeeze lemon. Yeah, or like stories. We all use stories on Instagram. That was very much in context. It was a photography platform. Stories came in, very real time and so great. Instagram, WhatsApp cloned it. Okay, I'm not sure how much it makes sense. Some generations use it more than others. I hope just that we don't find it in our calculators. Then context will just get fucked up. I mean, yeah. The last point is pinch of drama is needed. I really believe a sip of drama in everything we do is needed. And this is not a pessimistic point of view, but I really believe without it, something would be missing. Not in everything we do. We shouldn't cry every day when we create a nice design. But I mean, a pinch of drama, like our dearest friend. I'm a big fan of Don Norman. He argues in his talks and books how anxiety helps us be more creative. It really literally triggers neural transmitters in our brain, and we are more receptive to things, and we think outside the box. So it is literally anxiety will make us really think outside the box. A very banal example is Adele releasing her album 21 after the album 19 and before the album 25, and that was the biggest hit of her life simply because she wrote it based on a breakup with her boyfriend. So this is the Octopus Manifesto. This is how, in a way, I deal with the surrealities I face every day in my creative and normal life. This says it maybe at best as well from Martha Graham: no artist is pleased, there is no satisfaction whatever at any time, there is only a queer divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest that keeps us marching and makes us more alive than the others. I really love this dissatisfaction, which is such a positive thing, and this I think we should always remind ourselves in that, because I believe only by reimagining ourselves and only by reinventing ourselves constantly, that we can step or maybe step forward towards changing the world we live in. Yeah, thanks.